public hearing, which Matt Petrini is going to talk about later. But I do feel that I want to tell you guys, not only are we going to do a moment of silence, but after this, I want you guys to come over here and visit this memorial over here. There's all the names of the people who lost their lives hanging on the fence, and you can read about them on the tag. So I'd like you to, before you leave, go and connect with somebody that was there that lost their lives. The stories are tremendous. You can find them if you just Google Lac-Mégantic. You can learn about all the people, and it's pretty terrific. So with that, I want you to think about those that lost their lives and also those that are battling this disaster across the rail line.
Thank you all so much for coming out. My name is Matt Crows. I work for Forest Ethics, and I think I know most of you, or at least half of you, from working on the coal train issues and the coal terminal issues over the last several years. I've been traveling around the state, talking to a lot of different groups right now, a couple thousand people in the last couple of months, trying to get people up to speed on what, if you're all here, you probably know what's going on. We've had this incredible rise of oil by rail. It's partly in response to successful pipeline fights, which many of us have been part of. 350's been a huge part of, but it's also a new thing entirely. Just in the last couple of years, the ability to use these giant unit trains of oil, the same unit trains that they talk about for coal, has changed the economics. So all of a sudden, the U.S. has become a massive producer of oil in a way that we never have been before. And when you look at what we're exposed to here in Bellingham right now, we're talking about massive throughput either of coal that they're proposing or of oil that fundamentally isn't for us. So you look around the country right now, you look at the massive growth of proposals to take these unit trains, they're talking about exports. Every time the American Petroleum Institute talks about what they're doing, they're talking about exports. When you add up all the different rail terminals in the state of Washington, you're talking over 900,000 barrels a day of potential capacity, Keystone being about 830,000 barrels a day, and refineries that do 600,000. You add it up, you're talking about 250% of what we have coming through today, coming through the state of Washington or through Columbia and Oregon, because it's going to somebody else. And we're doing the right thing right now. One of the things that we have in the last 5 years accomplished, we've reduced our use of fossil fuel or liquid fuels by 10%, and they're still talking about more than doubling what's coming through. We have a governor who's proposed about a 34 million ton a year reduction in our carbon footprint. They're talking hundreds of millions of tons of export. You guys have been here for the last couple of years. Nobody has seen a movement like this around the country anywhere else except for in the Northwest and in Bellingham, where 9,000 people turned out to coal scoping hearings, 160,000 provided comments. So right here, this is actually the center of where resistance is happening in this country. And when I say center, this week, it's a week, Dean wants to applaud. We're at the center of resistance in this country. Thanks, Dean.
My name is Matt Petrini. I work for an organization here in Bellingham called Resources. Many of you know me from working on the coal issue. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned about this oil train issue. In Washington State, when we talk about oil trains, we're talking about one of two destinations here in our state. One is called refineries, and then the other is called merchant terminals. And merchant terminals are the facilities where oil comes in by rail, basically gets loaded on ships and goes somewhere else. Right now, none of those are being allowed to go through. They've been blocked by various communities along the rail line, and we have reason to believe that those communities will be successful in blocking all of them. But what that means is that puts a lot more risk here on us in our community, because the only place they're allowed to get this oil out is through refineries that are already built. We have 4 of them in our community. Matt mentioned the 3 that are currently permitted and or operating these oil by rail facilities, and Shell in Anacortes is trying to operate 1 more. The 2 that we have here in Washington County are currently permitted to receive 9 oil trains a week. That's loaded oil trains. So it's 18 train trips every week. So this is one of the things that we're a little bit concerned about. The other thing that's going on there is that when they originally permitted this facility at BP, they said that the reason was that they were going to receive less Alaskan North Slope crude oil. That this Bakken oil would be basically a 1-for-1 replacement of the Alaskan North Slope crude oil. which, you know, I don't know, sounds somewhat plausible to me. I don't know that much about the oil industry other than what I read in all these documents. But, you know, it's possible. Alaska North Slope crude oil is getting harder and harder to find. The problem is they're right now moving also at the same time a proposal that they've advanced since the early 2000s to expand their pier at BP. And the question this obviously raises is if you're bringing in Bakken crude by rail to replace Alaskan North Slope crude oil, why are you expanding the pier? And in this draft here, I asked that they're now open for public comment until August 6th. The proposal is to increase the number of vessel calls at their pier facility from 335 to a high-level forecast of 420. Now is the time that we have to say no. We have to tell them that we're not going to allow any more vessels to call at this time.
New York City, September 20th. They're calling for the largest climate march in history. They're asking for loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people to come out because all the leaders from all the countries around the world are meeting to discuss climate plans for how to address the problem. So, if you're planning to go, please go to facebook.com/350Bellingham and send a message because we're trying to organize some folks there. Somebody sponsored my trip. I know a couple other folks that are going, and we wanted to have a Bellingham contingent, so we are going to offset the carbon from the airfare through carbon offset programs. That's the best we can do. I'm going to help out with 350.org back there. That's why I'm going. But if you don't want to go there, do know that regionally, for the Pacific Northwest, we're going to have a huge action in Seattle. So we're not going to organize anything here locally unless somebody wants to do that, but we want to try to get as many people to the Seattle action if you can't make it to New York City on September 20th. So please mark your calendar for September 20th. Make sure that if you're not on Facebook, find somebody who is, so you can go to facebook.com/350Bellingham. I will make sure I post the Solutions Project information there as well. I was just reading about it last night. It's fabulous! So I can't thank you all enough for coming. I know that Margaret Mead's famous quote, what is it, that never doubt a small group of citizens taking action, because that's indeed all can change the world, right? Because that's all it ever has anyway. So thank you for coming, and have a great rest of the 4th of July weekend.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thank you.